Greetings, and welcome to this episode of Living the Wiccan Life. Today's show is a follow-up on the last program where we discussed the nature of sacred art. My guest today is Arch Priestess Reverend Virginia Bitterwind Smith, and she has with her a piece of sacred art that she has made. Bitterwind, could you tell us something about it? Both its overall purpose and then go into specific details.
All right. This particular staff was made from wood that was consecrated and blessed by Myrna Barney, a shaman of the Lakota people.
Right.
And she had, at that time, introduced me to her pile of wood and told me how she had consecrated and blessed it. And I felt that it was time for me to have a staff.
Okay.
It was a feeling that was in me that it was time for me to have a staff. And I asked her to help me pick out a piece of wood and for her to specifically bless it.
May I interrupt you just a moment? I don't want to break your train of thought, but if my understanding's correct, the pile of wood she had is some that she gathered in the sacred Lakota manner and left outside in the elements to absorb the energies of the earth and the elements, and therefore more sacred than even with her blessing. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are.
Okay, please continue.
Well, after a considerable wait, she handed it to me in a ceremony, brief ceremony of friendship, of it was a made-up ceremony in which we acknowledged that we followed different paths but had the same basic vision.
And given and received in a distinctive, sacred way according to her tradition.
Yes. And she gave it to me bare and said Great Spirit had told her that I was supposed to do it myself, at which point I had not been into my creative mode for a very long time. I had stopped painting. It'd been 15, 20 years since I last painted a picture. But I started carving symbols on the wood.
And what do these symbols mean? Could you turn them to the camera and point them out individually to us as you tell them? Which is right over there.
It's basically an owl here. There is the first one that I did was a spider.
Okay.
The spider is, in my opinion...
I lift it up just a little so we can see it better. That is, you carved that yourself on there.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everything carved on here is done by myself. The spider was the grandmother spider. I thought of Myrna Barney as grandmother spider at that time.
Right.
And it flows in the interaction of everything. So that was the first symbol I carved. Second one was the owl. And then generally just wolf,
and where's
snake.
The wolf? Turn them individually to the camera, please, so our viewers can really appreciate the artistry you put into this.
Well, I can't really...
Here, hand it to me just a moment, please. Oh, and this is heavy. That's why she's having so much trouble. Can...
there's a snake down in here. There's lizards. There's all kinds of an eagle at the top. It's just a general carving of nature into the wood
and carving the energies of each individual animal and spider into the wood. I would think also.
Yes.
In a shamanic manner.
Yes, and it is. Piece by piece, it acquired its own beauty. Beauty is to catch the eye of the beholder is the first
duty of art?
Yeah, duty of art. It's a duty of art in itself to catch the eye of the beholder. Spiritual art should be even more pretty if possible. And this is my effort to make a thing of beauty that will catch the eye, that will encounter the mind as well, because of the meanings that go into it. This is a spiritual transformation. The butterfly, the frogs on it, transformation is the key. When you are holding a staff, you are transforming yourself as well as the staff. That is the purpose of making sacred art, is to reach out toward the higher spark, the creative spark, the spark that makes you yearn toward beauty.
And am I correct when I say that by doing that you're bringing that spark of the sacred into the world, into your art?
Yes, exactly. It is to try to bring down from spirit into the world something of beauty that will reflect the spirit into the world. The staff is very symbolic in that it's a stick. The first tool of man that he picked up was a stick to knock down a piece of fruit or anything. The staff is man plus tool. Man does not stand alone, and he never has, even though he thinks he has. He doesn't really give the value to tool that tool, capital T-O-O-L, deserves. A computer is a tool for the mind.
Yes.
An axe is a tool to make a building. You can't interchange those tools.
Not very effectively.
A spiritual tool is also not really interchangeable. It's meant to be exactly what it is, a spiritual tool. If you make a tool with the idea of spirit in mind, it will reflect it.
Oh, yes.
There is a possibility that it goes into a museum and becomes great art, too. But the particular design that I am working with in this is a spiritual tool for me to reach toward Great Spirit. It has all the elements that you would expect. You have shells for water, you have feathers for air, you have crystal frog for spirit, you have stones for earth. The dragon at the top is for fire and imagination. The purpose of this is to lead me toward Great Spirit, and it served its purpose. I really did have an epiphany in which I was touched by Great Spirit at Thanksgiving, and at which point I abandoned it without a thank you. It was sad. I mean, I walked away from it. It had served its purpose, you know. And then later I found out that it had another greater purpose, that Myrna Barney, who had given it to me bare, had a purpose for it too, that it celebrated her life as well as my life, that it could be used again. At that particular point, the crystal that was on this was a broken hummingbird. I'm not superstitious, but broken and bad communication with spirit kind of go together, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So, in a ritual, I had Myrna Barney kiss a frog of transformation and added that to this particular staff. After I had finished with it, it became her staff again. And now it comes back to you.
A staff is traditionally, and in my personal meaning also, a representation, a very personal representation of the person who makes it and carries it. Would you say that that has been not only a representation of your energies and your spirituality, but a record keeper of your journey for yourself and for Myrna,
Yes,
as it has made those travels?
yes, very definitely. It has made some interesting changes in my life and in hers, I'm sure. There is things that have broken, things that have changed. It's a possibility that it will still continue to change.
I expect that it would, being what it is, made by who it was made, blessed by who it was blessed by. It might again transform into something that no one at this time has any idea of. But I expect its journey to continue. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Living the Wiccan Way. And Lady Bitterwind, we do thank you for your presence here on this show and for taking the time to share your staff and your experiences and your understandings. Thank you so very much. Blessed be.